They've got a phone, they can watch this, and so will all of you as we go back to club.
Get signal in the bottom of the well?
I don't know, I'm not in the well.
I don't think they'll be on...
I didn't think about it.
I don't think it'll be super fast internet connection, if I'm honest.
No, they're holding their phones up as high in the well as they can get.
If anything, the data probably just drips through.
Yeah. I mean, I think Des is on Hap's shoulders, which I think takes the total height to about 7 foot.
From Hap's 6'8".
Oh, they're being mean. They are fine, otherwise we wouldn't be joking about them. They're just a little under the weather. And under the earth in a well. G2, they're going to bring Heroic into here. As was pointed out on the desk, Heroic have played this map. They played it against M&M. They won it 7-4. It was Heroic sort of going for a swing, because to be fair, M&M, that roster, is also a good club team.
Certainly are. Certainly are. We're going to see who's the better club team of these two as we get the bands coming in. Hibana, Maverick, Kaid. No major surprises there. All pretty stock standard as we would expect. And Valkyrie will round things out. So nothing really to discuss or deep dive too far into there. The Maverick and Kaid obviously all being aimed at the Hatch games, as well as Hibana as well coming along there. So this should be a reasonable opportunity to get things opened up here, and it's no surprise to see straight away we've got Ace and Thermite coming along. They're going to need both of them if they want to open hatches and potentially a wall as well. So by taking out 2 hard breachers, you pretty much guarantee those other 2 hard breachers being brought along. But as I say, the Kaid ban at least removes a little bit of that denial. They're only going to have the mute, which isn't going to protect the hatches. It will protect the triple wall, but there'll be plenty of opportunity for breaching on the side of G2. They can, of course, as well bring along the hard breaching gadgets.
So he was mentioned in the head-to-head against Doki, but Sloth is somebody that it's worth shining a bit of a spotlight on because he is currently, outside of the results that have happened in the game earlier today, or was it, so it was at the start of the day, he was the highest rated player out of all of this season, out of all of this split, by a good 0.20. He was on 1.4.
He's had a few very good player days.
He has. He tops the cost board, he tops the KD board, and he sort of outpaces G2 on a couple of different fronts. And that's the worry, because sure, he was a few 5 kills ahead of Citizen, who was the top KD in terms of the split there for G2. He was higher on the cost versus Prano, who was the top G2 player because of the 7 plants he's been able to put down as the top planter. So it's kind of a game of, can they shut down Sloth? And is Doki the guy to do it, who's going to be stepping up in that entry position?
Grizzly just chasing the drones around there, not going to manage to get it taken down, but Sloth is going to take Doki down, and that is a big start for Heroic there. That's a nitro. I think it went out of the breach, and he finds his man, and that's going to leave G2 in a little bit of a spot now. They've lost the Thinker, they've lost some nades along with her. Granted, it's not essential utility that they need, but it doesn't get much better. And Uno, he might just get himself a bit of joy here. He's going to take a few pot shots out of dirt, and he's going to run away. He's not going to engage too heavily on that, but what a start for Heroic.
That's it. They're really sort of saying, well, this is the pace that we're going to play it, and you've got to try and keep up with us. Otherwise, well, we're going to get you dropped. The early take there, the C4 under the floor, and the Jack are not quite able to get the full read. They have the ping on that player. They know where he is, but I think Ogona has a little bit of that awareness. Hears it and is able to still take the fight. Just swung into Prano against the active information. Benja, he's caught on 2 drones there, and he sort of eyed up the idea, but I think realized just how buried back Alamau is. Alamau, there's nowhere he can go. He's got to fight his way out of here after the hatch, and he almost loses his life to it, laid down and caught by the shotgun. I don't know if Benja knows, or if he's just concerned about a swing round. They're holding the window. He's going to get himself up and close. This has been tragic as an opener here for G2.
Benja's just got some key information there that there's one outside a kitchen. He's going to get a little bit too much information as he finds Virtue, who manages to get himself a kill, and this will probably give the opportunity to pick Alamau up as well. So this is not all bad for G2. It's going to bring them back to a 3v4 with everybody on their feet, and that's at least an opportunity for them. But with only 50 seconds left to go, limited hard breach options now, this is not going to be an easy finish for them.
Wow, there's scraps of damage done to all the G2 players, and when you have 4 impacts still in pocket, they usually run for the hatches, but they might be run elsewhere. Another pop, and that is a little bit of damage done to Citizen that puts him just as low. A single impact would drop any of these players right now. They've got to be super cautious they don't get hit by the wide swing of the Pokeball. 20 seconds. Citizens still above the hatch. They're trying to apply some pressure elsewhere, but there's smoke canisters to contend with. There's maybe cap cans, and that's, again, all damage that will be lethal in this state. G2 are doing their best to try and recover something, but it's just going to have to turn to a mad dash underneath the kitchen hatch here. They're going to go for the drop pretty much instantly. There is still some of a stretch. Uno has the ability to find it, but it's just fed into the first. Citizen battles back, and they just time it to get their first heroic.
What a nice opening round from Heroic there. Great job done. All starting with that nice nitro from Sloth to start us off, kill onto Doki, and they just really kept that advantage throughout. Benja can feel a little bit hard done to, I think, in some ways. He nearly gets his kill onto Alamar and then gets caught out on main stairs by Virtue. I think he was maybe just a little bit naive coming down there, not quite ready for the fight, I don't think, and given that he'd seen one at the kitchen window, obviously the information was going to have been fed across quickly, so maybe should have been a bit more prepared for that engagement, but still a good finish from Heroic. It was basically a Hail Mary for G2 at the end there. They had absolutely no option other than to just throw themselves into the hatch and see what stuck, and it was just as simple as shooting them as they dropped, really, for Heroic. They're not going to get many easier kills than those tonight. So, Uno takes one against G2. Obviously, his old teammates there. Every round is going to feel like a little victory for him. It's, you know, these are all friends, but still, it's always the same. You go up against your old team, a little bit of needle. It's nice to, no footballing term there, a little bit of needle. It's always nice to get one over on them.
Get in their heads.
I'll be honest, there's going to be a lot of people watching who have never been involved in Northern Sunday League football who will have never heard the term.
Surprisingly narrow.
It's quite a niche.
Window.
It's quite a niche audience.
Yeah, when you
for using the term needle, it basically means like a bit of rivalry.
Yeah. You go again.
Maybe a bit of, you know, just a bit of rivalry.
Well, it's opened up here with G2 on a false start. They haven't had the pace. They were sort of lost, and it was almost a lot worse. They at least found a couple bodies back in, but to them, that's a false start, and they're going to see if they can try and shake that off and breathe and lead themselves into the following round. I mean, as said before, you're looking at about a 4-2 to a 3-3 split on terms of your defense for it to be successful. G2 has a lot of time here to try and pull some of that balance background. Early doors, early days. Heroic, in the meantime, they got to make sure that they don't fall victim to a little bit of overconfidence, as we've seen many a team fall. They've come off the back of their only loss so far on this split, and if they can swing this one back round, it certainly makes things very spicy, because G2 also have come off the back of their only loss.
Grizzly on those main stairs, just trying to stop any push or sweep across the mid-floor. He's going to open up the kitchen hatch, which is going to give him some opportunity to drop away and keep G2 guessing here, waste a little bit more time. Alamau not making too much progress on the Monty yet, just facing up to the mirror shield, gaining information, doing important work. Doki with that ping is going to be able to open things up, try to clear out the mirror window and just give a little bit of advantage to G2 on this jacuzzi-sided push. But Grizzly's there, they don't know. He's missed his shots. He takes chips off the Iana of Citizen, but can do no more. But I tell you who can do more. It's Benja finding Doki with a headshot, and that is 5v4 for Heroic.
Really well played aggression there. Citizen's gone for the rotate. Just maybe saw the top of a haircut, but isn't entirely sure about it. He timed that with Grizzly. Benja made the movements inside the bar and sort of drew some attention. It forced them to say, we can get this guy. And then there was a second guy. The old two-guy strategy has come through once again. Citizen, he's keeping his eye now. He's concerned about a player above the hatch. He's hoping that somebody else made a mistake. But here, they're still tucked in behind the bar. Benja is locked in. He has an idea of this billiards player. You can hear the drones about to whir. He's got to take this fight sooner rather than later. The reveal is there. He's there to try and serve up, but 40 seconds. And it's still a fight on the wrong floor. Sloth finds Citizen from above. Gets that support, gets that swing round. Alamau's lost. Grizzly isn't. He locks out Virtue. Prano's outside a smoked out balcony. The Monty gets a single kill on the stairs. But again, 20 seconds. Kit's still in the pocket of Prano. He cannot get an access or an entrance there. He's going to try and burn and flash his way around. The Monty is just having to pistol whip and swing his way around corners and corridors. But at this point, Heroic, they're still in total control.
Absolutely, there's very little G2 can do here. Alamau, he manages to find one with a pistol, but it's going to be a consolation kill and no more as Grizzly. He locks it down, and that's going to be 2-0 to Heroic, and what a start on the defence. We saw G2, of course, unable to get the result in the last Playday. Are they going to face the same struggles here? We're only 2 rounds in, so we don't want to get carried away just yet, but Heroic have looked pretty dominant so far. That said, this, for me, round 3 is generally the wake-up mark. If a team comes comes into a game slow but are going to do better, it tends to be about now that they get going.
It's the round where it's also going to define, I think, the energy. If G2 drop this one, there's probably going to be a timeout after it to just sort of have a conversation, because as I said, a 4-2 is a standard split, but you're looking at those two to be the tertiary sites. You're looking at those to be the ones where there's a bigger struggle. It's not always sort of a call and response. These are the sites that you've called before. Our response to the losses has been these wins. That's a much riskier sort of gambit. Here, I guess it's down to see if they are going to be able to drive themselves in on this approach. Heroic, though, you know, it's 2 rounds of pretty much total control.
I think that's the best way to describe it, in honesty. G2 haven't come close. Look at the kills. 4 kills across 2 rounds. It's, you know...
Sloth, what is this?
And one of those was a meaningless pistol kill at the end of the round. So Sloth, he's just getting aggro now. He's getting carried away. He's looking for this. The nade comes out. G2 are aware, but Sloth, he's able to give him a bit of fancy footwork, a little bit of the razzle-dazzle, gets himself away from them, avoids the nade, and he's going to keep himself fighting through that mirror window. But this is one hell of a setup. He's going for the reinforce. I was just about to say, leaving half of that wall soft and playing on the mirror, that is a step too far past brazen for me.
I mean, going for the reinforce on that wall after you've been naded at the 2 minutes 30 mark, yeah, it's a bold play. They're going to instantly try and put this pressure in. You hear the mirror window get popped. They're going to throw something out to stop that. No, that is able to just explode. A little bit too slow, as you said. And now they have that wall open. It was Gambit, and, well, it's confidence. And the thing is, Sloth is a player that does get very good when he does silly, brash things that would a lot of other people, you'd be like, that's too far, mate.
No, that's too far, mate. You need to knock that on the head, son. Now then, Alamau, he's pushing into Garage, trying to make Grizzly's life difficult up on Catwalk. It's one of the perfect uses that we see for Monty, really, is bullying that Catwalk. But Benja, he's going to open things up again with a kill onto Doki, traded out immediately by Prano, who's been quiet so far in this game, but gets himself onto the board. G2 trying to soften up the Garage some more, get themselves up onto Catwalk. Alamau's going to push himself up there now, and this is going to make Grizzly's tenure extremely difficult. Needs to be careful, he's being challenged. That is an aggressive play from Grizzly.
Gorgona underneath, though. Alamau massively suffered there. They just sort of ignored the player inside Oil Pit. They're trying to drive themselves in. Grizzly's in a tricky situation, but Uno has his back. The Finnish man of Cool is able to keep it and drop that player out on the swing. Virtue's crept his way in. Do they know about the player that's underneath, though? Are they aware? Gorgona was the reason they took so much damage. Well, Grizzly's done the last bit. Almost caught as he ran out of the smoke canister. Virtue does get the end, but again, it's a 2 versus 3. Virtue massively injured. The 3rd canister pops off. The kit's still cold. The drop and the grenade rocked. Very well played there by Citizen, and he's able to put them back into a 2 versus 2. They're seeing if they can get the catch on the mirror. They don't quite get that connection. Gorgona, though, he's now in a position to get this. If he can time this right, oh, if either of them can.
They know that he's down there, but it was just the angle that eluded Virtue. He gets himself up onto the catwalk. Gorgona's going to have to get moving if he wants to be able to have any impact here. He's going to get an absolute freebie as Citizen tries to get himself up the catwalk stairs. Can he finish things off? He's got that diffuser down on the ground. He's going to cover it as long as he can, and Virtue, he's only 1 bullet away. Gorgona finds it, and what a play from the Oil Pit. Unreal from Gorgona, and Heroic clinging on there at what was a valiant G2 on the progress chart for Heroic at the minute.
The thing with Heroic as well is the games that they've taken, they've generally all been very extreme. There was the 7-4 that was the opener here on Club versus M&M, and that is the tightest result they've had, regardless of whether they won it or lost it. A 7-1 and a 2-7 have been that follow-up, and that's the thing about that roster is they are so back and forth, or they were, and that was the big question mark. That was the one in everyone's notebooks at the start of this year, is have Heroic x Koana found a way to just sort of keep that trend a little bit more in control? I mean, I guess we'll see as this game further develops, but if they find themselves a couple more rounds here, the answer might be no.
It certainly could be. The destruction work begins immediately for G2, getting the East Breach open, getting the logistics hatch dropped. They've got the opportunity to sweep across that top floor. They don't want to be losing lives in this process like they did last time around. They want to be going on towards site with all 4-5 men remaining. They don't want to lose too many. We've got Heroic forced all the way back to site, so it's going to be a little bit of a quieter round from them this time around. We're not going to have Benja fighting up on top floor with Alamau. Instead, Heroic are happy to hold their angles and they're confident in their setup.
Now it is a bit more of a cautious hold and a bit more of a control, and oh, as Easy has just pointed it out, 2 Selmas impacted on the hatch. A huge blow to the utility there. They've now lost that immediate access. They obviously still have exothermics in the pocket, I believe. I don't know if...
Depends on the type of push you're going for, though, as to exactly where you're going to want those exothermics. If you're going for kitchen hatch, for example, you're going to want to get yourself into dirt. Now, previously, I don't think Heroic reinforced dirt, but if they have done this time around, you're going to need those exothermics, at least one of them, to get in there.
I was waiting for him to get off his drone for so long to see the count.
You just start seriously limiting yourself in terms of utility. You know, you're picking a hatch now. You're picking kitchen or a bar.
And this is the choice that they're going to make, and whether they see if they can try and do anything on this hatch to apply some pressure. Apparently so. They're going to use a single Selma just to sort of stretch it and pull it away, and I think that one got caught as well. So no dice. 3 for 3 Selmas to impact, an entire removal of anything on that hatch, and even that single Selma wouldn't have gotten the breach open. It would have just given them an angle, and at that point you're thinking, well, why not put the pressure onto the mirror window? Why not try and bring that last remaining Selma, either open up an angle hold on the pipes wall or do something to break this hold? Now G2 are forcing themselves against a site with only a single hatch removed from the heart.
That's it. They've been quite fortunate in that, as I said, Heroic did leave dirt soft last time. They've left it soft again this time, so it has been possible for Alamo to open that up with the sledge and at least give them an angle of attack in there. But they're not going to be using that with the kitchen hatch, so your operational viability of dirt becomes limited then, because you're not going to be supporting it from the other side. Virtue starts us off on Gorgona, but Sloth, he's going big again. He's from behind that mirror, gets himself a double. Citizens found himself inside a site. We've got a ring around the roses. Who's going to win out on this one? It's going to be Grizzly. Alamo finds the trade, but 1v2, time running out. There's nothing he can do. It's going to be 4-0 Heroic. What is going on here?
Well, there was just a snafu, a kerfuffle of utility in the pocket against a hatch that did not break open, and they tried to throw themselves into the site, and the result spoke for itself. They did a good count on where the players were. They had an awareness, and I think, okay, let's take away everything else that happened in the round. What G2 did there to try and take the site with what they had, yeah, it sort of made sense. They threw themselves in aggressively, they went for the fights, they knew where Sloth was, they pulled the pressure onto Blue. At the same time, someone tried to find the fight with Sloth. They lost it, but it at least stopped the distraction there so they could get the kill across the side of Church. Then the follow-up went away from them. Sloth is on a tear. That is a sort of underlying point, has been the whole Heroic season.
Yeah, I think, you know, like you said, it's a fairly fair view of things. It's really what we're getting here is the entire season in microscopic view. It's like you say, it's just happening and playing out within one game. They need Sloth to continue firing. 4-0, guaranteeing themselves the advantage on the half, and this could go from bad to worse. G2 are going to be facing down much similar to what we saw. It's almost a carbon copy of the last game. In fact, it is a carbon copy of the last game with that 4-0 start on defence for the team on Clubhouse. It was Na'Vi last time against Pawns. This time it is Heroic who are just leading against G2, and again, it's just so convincing.
Okay, G2, you've had your tack timeout, and you've now got 2 chances, 2 more attempts and go-arounds at a Heroic defense that, to be fair, it's not always been, you know, an entirely certain thing. As you said, there was the 2 versus 2 round, and that round, although there was some mistakes with utility, they still were able to take a couple bodies and put it into a 2 versus 1 situation. But they just cannot find those last couple of steps. They cannot quite get that last little bit of a distance. Here with a quick bit of breach and power and pressure put towards Uno on logistics, they're going to pull themselves up and go for a rotate and see if they can keep this cutoff off Gorgona. That is what they're doing right now, isolating that player. Citizen has the watch on any rotate. Gorgona might try and make across the top. He has the shield and some support here. He's going to see how long he can survive from one shield to the next. Well, he almost gets caught out, sprays back towards the window, but he knows they have his number. Grizzly's here to try and offer some support, but they're on the door, and finally G2, finally Doki has been able to put his name on the board in a positive way on that entrance. Benja has a quick response to him, but at least it heralds something.
That's it, and they needed something. They needed the entry to try and get them going. Gorgona, of course, had a couple of big kills in a previous round, and so it might just be helpful taking him off the board and see how Heroic manage without. As you say, instant response leaves us in a 4v4, and G2 just trying to continue this push from the construction side of things. It's going to be Sloth, I think, playing in behind that window. Alamo taking a lot of damage. No, it's actually Uno on the mirror this time around. Nearly loses his life from Hatch. Very lucky to escape. Out goes the Nitro, doesn't catch its man. I thought it might just find enough damage onto Alamo there, but no, he manages to keep his distance, and the pressure is really mounting for Heroic now.
They're cautious of somebody that might come up on the return. It's about 50 seconds left, but instead Benja's gone his way over to the top of the brick. He's just slipping past active gunfights, and he's able to get past the firing line and get in. Alamau is peppering bullets. There's a lay-down man just on the corner. The angle of the pre-fire is a little bit high. If he was crouched, it would have been a kill, but Uno, with a sliver of health, is lying down. Benja dropped on the door. Uno sits and waits for his prey, hoping he's still going to test, and Sloth is now going to see if he can slow the door, and there it is, the swing round, the pick up, and suddenly there's no back line to this push. However, there is Jacuzzi, and that gives them at least a secondary angle. Virtue goes next. Sloth and Grizzly, the last two, moving and manipulating the little corner of play space they have in the middle as Prano hops in. There's Grizzly getting one more, and now it's just Prano. Pre-fired, but caught. Grizzly pushes Heroic, and again, it is close for G2, but again, it is a win for Heroic, 5-0.
This is an agonising watch for any G2 fans out there. I'm sure those Uno in what turned out to be a pivotal position in many ways. And how close were those shots through the soft wall to taking him down? They had an idea that he was in that position. They just didn't shoot low enough. If they get that kill and it literally takes one bullet through that soft wall, Uno's dead and we're in a very different situation at that point. But no, he manages to evade them, keeps himself fighting, and once again, Heroic coming out on top.
It's one of those days, one of them days at the office for G2 where things aren't lining up. Sometimes it happens, and when it happens, it sometimes gets into your head about it happening, and sometimes it happens a little bit more frequently. There, though, they're doing so many things right, and that is the perfect example. But Heroic, they're just having these little windfalls. A couple of inches separated them from being able to take out Uno there, and if they get that kill, they're suddenly in a 4 versus pretty much 2, I think it would have been, with a full lockdown on Jacuzzi, logistics, and on the door of the site itself. They just lost one of those angles as try and reconvene. The impact trick stops that Selma from getting a little bit wider. Benj is able to pull himself back in and removes the chance of that being a rotate.
Grizzly going to hold on to that catwalk once again. We saw him do it fantastically well this time as well. There is no shield from Alamo to try and bully him out of that position. So for now, he just sits comfortably waiting for his opportunity. Alamo won't know how close he was there to a potential spray down inside a garage. Gorgona looking to play in that oil pit position again, but he's not going to be giving it quite so cheaply. This time, he's going to try and get out of dodge. Doki manages to find Benja, and that starts the round off for G2. Not bad at all. Can they get a little bit more out of that opening kill than they did last time? Virtue doubles down, finds Gorgona, 5 versus 3.
There it is. Grizzly's going to see if he can step in and try and replace some of the pressure here. Sloth suffers pretty heavily to a grenade, I assume, that came from underneath, and there's still 5 more where that came from. Make that 4. Grizzly, he wants to go for a little bit of burst pressure, removes that to make sure he can a little bit later on. The Claymore of Virtue is gone, and that gives him a swing chance, and well, that also gives him the body of Citizen. Uno up the backstairs, takes care of a pivotal player there, takes 2 more grenades off the board and buys them a little bit more time, but G2 still have that man advantage, and Sloth and Uno are dancing with the death.
Surely Heroic don't get away with this one again. Uno, of course, bringing it a little bit closer, but G2 are taking their time. They're droning out here. They know where Grizzly is, and Doki's going to find him. That's the kill that they needed, and that's going to be the catalyst for the round. 1 minute 15 left to go, and G2, you're about to see some aggression from them, I think, as they will start pushing in. Doki finding Sloth. Heroic knowing that it's just roll of the dice time. They've got to take every opportunity they can and trying to make something happen. They won't mind at all, though. Uno manages to find Doki with a headshot, 1v3, low health, and going to be finished off by Alamo. Heroic finish out the half 5-1, with G2 managing to get their first round on the board in that final 6th round.
Only just, but only just, to be honest, has been the kind of G2 story over this game. They've been close. So many times and so many times. There, Doki was able to pop in. That's the first time in the first round he's been able to sort of meet a mark. He can take a sigh. He can take a breath alongside the rest of G2. They head over to their defense. They've got that working for them on club. They've got a little bit of stretch now, and they have one risky round. But to be honest, if 5-1's put up against you, you can do that right back. And this is a super talented roster that might be able to drive a little bit more. That now, to be fair, the pace is something they have help with in controlling it, because it was the punishment a couple of times and a little pocket plays a couple later. Here they have that 6th player time on their team.
Church and Arsenal will be the first defensive bastion for G2 here as they try to mount some sort of comeback, some sort of fight back. Citizen, he's going to be heading up to the top floor with Alam out on the mute, so that's going to make it difficult for Heroic to just come in and sweep across here, but those two players are going to be key. If Heroic can get in there and just take them out or force them very quickly back to site, maybe just getting one of the kills, it's going to be a big moment for Heroic. If they can get a successful first attack here, you just feel that this matchup is all but done.
When was the last time we had a 5-1 half on Clubhouse? Oh, it was the map just before.
Yes.
It was the map just before. How did that one end?
Well, the defensive team actually mounted quite a good comeback, but Na'Vi ultimately, they won out.
So, Heroic. Na'Vi, you remember them? Yeah, they're the team that beat you a couple of days ago. Can you replicate what they did against G2? Can you try and put some of this pressure back in to see if you can, I guess, make that distance yours? Or G2, can you try and mount this comeback that is not entirely impossible? It was almost done just before, but an early loss made every single round a little bit more sweaty. Doki behind the bar and waiting for this stretch, but a heavy drone game down towards blue, and look at Uno already.
Straight into dirt. He's not messing about, is he? And Virtue's going to find himself under pressure. Sloth's in blue. This is getting very aggressive from Heroic. The problem is, how are they going to deal with those roamers? They could get hit on the flanks. They need to be very careful to make sure that they're aware of exactly where that movement is. We can see from the silhouettes there's at least one still on the mid floor off on the left-hand side of your screen. So Benja, he's aware of that, looking to join Uno potentially. Doki on the roam. Alamai is going to open us up with one onto Sloth, and that could be a big problem here. But Benja able to find Virtue, and that opens things up for the Monty to move in. But yet again, these kills, they just trade back and forward. But now G2 able to double down. It's all coming in to the dirt tunnel push. They know where they are. There's no reason that G2 should lose this.
That's it. They have these two players locked in, and you could see Heroic wanted to do something a little bit clever, a little bit smart, a little bit sharp, but G2 responded in their own way. They made sure that, I guess, not only did they get that early kill and that first take from Alamau, who followed up with a second, but they had the bodies in place. Doki getting the kill, the pick on his rotate back round to sight, and then Citizen going up for almost two more here, finds them both with an Echo drone doing the busybody work at the feet. They always had a plan B, they always had a backline, and now they have a second round, one either side of the half. Can they try and tie a couple more to that?
Good start for G2, but a lot more work needs to be done from them. Of course, they're going to have to match or better what Heroic did here. Matching it will take us to overtime. If G2 can get 5 defensive rounds and only slip up once, that will see us go to the extra 3. If they can better it and go 6-0, then it will see them take all 3 points, but they are a long way from that yet. Bar and Stage going to be the second choice site again, and this is the second time again we've seen this today, and it was Na'Vi who chose this site second last time around.
It was, and it was a success both times Na'Vi picked it. It was the sort of secondary in their rotation, and it was very well held, with a lot of focus played and paid on towards Stage. And Heroic, they're familiar with that team. They're familiar with a lot of the UK holds and strategies. They'll know a way to push it. I believe they were the ones, and although they didn't play it today, when Na'Vi first flew their bar stage hold last split, Heroic then did pretty much the same hold the next week, or the next Playday even. They are well versed in the approach here.
Certainly are. Doki going to just make a little hole in the east breach there, see if he can find any joy. Not going to come anything immediately out of spawn, so he'll dip away from that. Not going to pressure too much. Citizen holding on to the jacuzzi wall. He's maybe going to try and bandit trick. He's probably not going to commit himself too much to that because, of course, there is the window. It's pretty easy to deal with, but he just wants to prevent pressure coming from that side. What you really want is the attackers pushing over from the CCTV side, so they're playing into your defences. You can try and keep hold of construction that way and just prevent you losing that top floor too soon.
It's the players, well, it's 4 grenades in pocket, but nobody to try and catch or stop it. Those little holds, they're not going to last too long, but it's seemingly heroic. Aren't paying much attention to them anyway. They're setting up some early pressure here and getting some early angles inside of Strip, and they're just putting the catch down towards Lounge. There is a player. Well, there's a player close to that. We'll get to them in a second. There's a player that's on the back of Garage waiting for a bit of a stretch there. It's Alamau that's just keeping his Mozzie drone eye. And Uno, I don't know if he knows, but they're probably going to know about each other sooner rather than later, as Benja is going to go offer some support, as they do have the kit, and it's a dangerous one to just run your way into.
Doki's going to get spotted out here. Thinking about going for a jump out, but the drone is just going to save Heroic there, I think, because he was certainly looking at it. He slammed the impact nade on there to try and just remove the barricade in one and follow it up with a jump, but it did not pay off. He's run away, he's played his life, and that is absolutely the right thing to do on defence, especially with the amount of pressure that is coming from that East breach from Heroic. They were ready to pounce if that was the situation. Alamau, though, able to get a hell of a shot at the top of the red stairs, though. Uno with an immediate trade out, but downed in the process. Going to be picked up back to 20 health. Not ideal here. 4v4.
Yeah, both Gorgona and Uno went there, and it was a little bit of blue on blue as Gorgona put bullets into the back to double confirm the kill. They still have Uno, and that's important because, well, you're running with that thermite, you still got to get some destruction down on the site. Sure, you have the Selmas, but if you're going for this attention onto Strip, if you're going for this attention onto that split push with Stage as well, you got to have some of that extra space, and you need this stage breach to be as big, as wide, and as spacious as possible. Stacked up on the billiards window and seeing if they can get a catch, but with players still above, it's not an easy place to play. It's not a place you can really be confident in all the time. There goes one of the Echo drones, and that puts Prano in a situation now where he's got to use his gun. Citizen suffers next, but 15 seconds, and here it goes.
Virtue's going to find Heroic. They have to get in and start getting this diffuser down here, and it is currently on the ground. Benja manages to find Doki, though. Level things up 3 versus 3. Gorgona collects diffuser. He's in a position to put this down. There is some cover in place. It's going to be for Benja, but no, Citizen on the flank manages to get both, and that is a solid defense from G2. 2 in a row, and you start looking at the possibility that they could run this back. There was a perfect example. Citizen just sweeping around the back to mop him up at the end there. It was a desperation attempt at the end. It was just, let's try and throw the diffuser down. And so G2 looking pretty good on the defense for me right now.
It's also a massive turn of face here between the record of both the two teams. As we sort of highlighted at the very beginning, you had Sloth, who was sort of sitting on 7-1, and G2 had about 4 kills between all of them at the beginning of the first couple of rounds. That has gotten so much tighter now. Sloth hasn't quite been able to find anything else since then. Other players of Heroic have been able to step up and put the game in, but then you look at G2 that are matching the pace. Now, they're much more involved in the game, much more involved in the fight. It took a little bit of time to warm up to the engagement, but they've definitely shown up now. That breach gives them that pressure and that swing, and as I said, the importance of this gym, maybe one that's told in 2 rounds or 3.
Alamau dips out of construction. With that wall being opened up, it's about the easiest way to shift somebody out of there if you want to. He's just going to hold in angle from bedroom door instead, whilst Uno gets across, and he's going to look at getting Jacuzzi wall open. So G2 already being forced back out of those primary positions. Sloth making his way in through strip and bathroom. He's going to look to head up the stairs, question mark. For the time being, he's looking to work underneath. I think get a couple of nades working on vertical angles if they can find any yellow pings coming out for him, and then he may choose to move up those main stairs and just really throw the cat amongst the pigeons by coming into the middle of the defence.
Wow. Cat amongst pigeons, but how aware are they? Is there a secret pigeon conspiracy? Gorgona is back up, and he's no, as he pecks his way back to life and finds a little bit more support. Chrisley's going to use that as their drive through. The second canister gets popped, and really popped Virtue with the impact over the top, showing that although they didn't quite have the full connections when they were trying to use those Selmas in their attack, they sure know how to break them just as well as Heroic broke theirs. It's another slow. Another problem here. Slothy's underneath. He's going to see if he can get rid and just get that opener to drop that Maestro cam with the Gon 6, but there's a rotation coming from Lounge.
That is the big problem for Sloth at the minute. If he's not aware of that, he could get hit hard. Doki goes in, and it's Alamau ultimately that finds the kill. They double up on him, and they clear him out. Alamau on a second. He's going on a tear so far this game. Prano, he gets in on the action. Grizzly managing to get one, but it's probably too little too late. 56 seconds left to go. 1v4, and it's all for Uno to do, and he's on the thermite. All he can really do is hold this main stairs angle for maybe 20-25 seconds. There's two things going on here. He's probably giving the team an opportunity to talk, but he's waiting for G2 to feed into him, and that's what they do to a degree. Alamau giving him one of the 4 that he needs, but now for Uno, he knows he has to move. It has to come down to him.
That was it. It was a bit of a gamble. Sloth, before he tried to throw himself into the fight, got caught by 2 different angles. He actually got the first aggression against Doki, but then Alamau took the drop as well. That was that combination of players that really took the end, and then the follow-up instantly from Alamau was almost a trade, but if you're the victor of it and you have the players to pick you up, you're back into the fight pretty much instantly. Grizzly, he read that as an idea of, well, there's only going to be 2 on site, so we're in a 2 versus 2, and tried to deep dive his way through, maybe overextended. I think when he saw the Maestro bubble, he panicked potentially and thought, well, I can't sit here because they know where I am and it's all soft floor, so tried to then throw himself into construction. There was somebody waiting there, and it became a slightly different affair, but in a 2 versus 5, when you've lost everybody else, those panic decisions happen, and we find ourselves only within 1 round of each other.
Surely G2 aren't going to do this. They will basically... They've got an opportunity to run this back as far as you can while still getting 3 points. So I know there will be people out there going, well, no, Ace, they could run it back from 6 rounds down. Yes, they could, but they wouldn't take all of the points, and that's what I'm looking at here. G2, they want the full 3 here, because these are 2 teams that could be fighting for the same spots come the end of the stage. So a full 3 against them, it's you know, again, it's another football thing, but it's a 2-point fixture. It's, you know, you double up on it effectively. A 6-point matchup, it counts twice. Not only are you denying them the points, but you're putting them on the board as well. And that can really be the difference maker when you're fighting over a position.
And that's also it as well, as you can see that this result would currently pop Heroic to the top of the board if it changes hands. Whoever gets the 3 points, they're first. And the other one, they drop down to 7th. Again, the league is still so close. It is early on. We're only on the 4th Playday, but the fact that we're still in a position where everybody is in such a huge position to net gain or lose, it shows you the importance, as you said, of these 6-point fixtures, these 6-point games against people that are all still sure you want to be the top, but there's a top 4 that you need to knock on the door on. And how many times have we seen an EUL team miss out because of a point?
Well, this is it, and it's not a position either of these teams are going to want to be in when it comes down to it. Gorgona dropping the logistics hatch now, trying to get this round underway. Minute in, droning done. He's going to collect his little drone buddy there so he can use him later in the round and start opening up those vertical angles. Attacking onto Church and Arsenal, so plenty of work for Heroic to do, but plenty of time remaining for them to do it. Sloth just trying to work those blue corridor angles. Sloth gone a little bit quiet in the last few rounds. Since they got onto the attack, he's not having the same impact. In fact, 7 kills still on the board. That's been the same for quite a while now. So Heroic just struggling a little bit without those kills coming in, and Benja as well just being held at bay, and G2 just seeming to keep these stars on the bench at the minute.
They keep striking first as well, and I'm not sure if it's just entirely a read, but before, a Heroic player would be tucked in a corner and pull off a huge play. This time, what we've seen from G2 on their defense is they'll get a read of a player, they'll get a read of a push, and then they've sent in 2 of their own. They strike first, and that was that big concern on the other turn of the half, was that control of the pace. Now they don't entirely have it. It's still been a little bit back and forth, but they are getting better and better at it. And there is that opener. Gorgona taken through the softer ping, and the intel gives them that early one. Sloth finds Doki, though. Not entirely sure what was sticking out of Doki or why he was that wide, but he's caught around the side of the barricade. The pop of the shotgun doesn't quite get that kill, and it's the fire over the top of pipes. There's a lot of Heroic bodies. None of them are caught, and, well, there's a spray round, but Citizen doesn't quite get the follow-up.
Citizen is just playing on the narrowest of angles so far this game. Prano getting aggressive on the Echo, just wants to be careful, doesn't want to throw away the opportunity to use those yokai drones, and he will indeed do that as Benja manages to find the kill. Sloth is down though, he's going to be picked up now. Straight away, the kill gets confirmed. It's 2v2. Diffuser is going down, though. Can Grizzly stick this? Unlikely, as the cover is taken out. Benja's dead. He gets his man. He can't fight his way out. And yet again, G2 find a way. Citizen disabling that diffuser. They lock down Church and Arsenal. And this one is on 5-5.
G2 fans probably looking a little bit happier than you did in the first half in terms of the scoreboard. There's still things that can be improved and tweaked and pulled apart, but both teams have those problems, and seemingly they are both rearing their heads biggest on the attack. Heroic. You only needed 2, and you still do, but now so do they. And that is that dangerous line. It turned into what looked like a bit of a sweep to, well, they've now tied 5 rounds in a row. And it took you that many before they could find a response. And to be honest, your last couple was when they were doing their best, and their last couple is when seemingly you've been doing your worst.
I can't believe how many identical halves we've practically seen on Clubhouse today. This is, you know, it's just history repeating itself over and over and over again at the minute. The third time that we're seeing that 4-0 come in to the start of somebody's defence on Clubhouse, and the attack is just really struggling. Heroic now, they're going to feel beaten, battered and bruised at this point, I would have thought. They've been knocked around a bit by G2 in the last few rounds, and they've got to start asking themselves, where is this attacking round going to come from? I honestly think they just need one of those rounds that you have where you come in, you get 2 openers, you 5v3, and they can just power forward from there. But you just need the stars to align a little bit for that to happen sometimes.
Heroic, you're angling yourself up here. You still just need 1, and it can be the one that you've been able to thread. It was a big early opener for them, or at least a chance, when they tried to knock instantly on the door of Church and play one of those quick plays. And to be fair, sometimes even when they're sort of backs pressed against the wall, they'll still go for the quick plays. The Bandit. Does it pop off? No, it didn't quite get the connection. It must have been milliseconds there.
Yeah, it'd have been very, very close, as you say, that one. But ultimately, the breach does get open, and that allows Grizzly to start working in. He's going to open up that bathroom as well. Trying to attack down onto Bar, so it's again up to those verticals. Now, interestingly, what you normally see when construction gets cleared out is they fall back into bedroom, they fall back into bathroom. Not possible this time around. Well played from Heroic to force them into the waiting arms of Sloth, potentially, who does take a lot of damage away from Dorky, and then his life before Virtue can get to the rescue. Going to find Citizen. 4v3. G2 still fighting well, though. Virtue needs to be dealt with. He's on the Elder. He's on the red stairs. He could cause them a real problem. Alamau's going to have a little peek out of there. Doesn't find anybody on the breach, so no joy. And Heroic, they've managed to keep themselves pretty safe away from this pair.
That's it. These two, they have each other's back, but they're about to have somebody right on theirs. Benja, he sees the pings a little too late. They've gone for the rotate, taking the smart option, which is book it. Let's get the hell out of here, lads. Oh, they found Prano on the route round as well. The 3 remaining G2 players all stacked up together. They're able to go back towards the back line of the side. Alamau thinks he might be able to do a little bit later. There's a minute on. If you can pull off a bit of a surprise stretch play, it could be huge. And you have a C4 in pocket. What are you going to do with it? Prano. Here's that back line, and they might have still some echo drones. It's a trade out, though. It's all across the board, and now it's just Alamau in a post-plant situation. Gets the first on the Dora Lounge. Almost finds the second. The pings are hot and red, but not quite there. There's a bit of a Hail Mary C4 throw, but there's a body above the hatch. And who knows out there? Heroic! Hey, it took you just as many to find your first. However, unlike your opponents, you now have an option to find a second. And the 3 points.
Whew, this is getting tight at the top, isn't it, between these two? G2 fighting all the way back, but Heroic able to finally find their opportunity to go and take the match. They just need to get it locked down now. They're going to be attacking onto Gym and Bedroom by the looks of it. We saw that back in round 9. It was, of course, a G2 win because Bar is the only attacking site that Heroic have been able to find an attacking win on. So, Gym and Bedroom. What do Heroic need to do differently here? For me, it's a about finding kills earlier in the round. They were, if you remember, Sloth was underneath for about a minute and a half last time, maybe a little bit more, and then he just got pinched by Doki and Alamau. They never dealt with the two that were down there roaming. So for me, make sure that mid floor is clear, especially if you want to play Sloth under there to try and use the nades onto the floor, you know, trying to catch anybody out with those yellow pings. Heroic need to make sure that they're safe in doing so.
Well, will that safety be assured here? G2, you are also only one round away, and that one round is a much bigger hurdle to jump over than the 5 that you were able to drive yourself back in here. It's been a huge performance of threading parts together, and they've finally been able to stop it. But you too can still push this towards OT and pull yourself a point, maybe 2. Is all that they have left to play for, but it's so precious and so worth it in a league that's still so hotly contested. They're going to try and stretch themselves here. Uno's going to find just maybe a gap in that mute jammer. Yes.
Yep, get it up on the top corner and you can usually avoid it. Of course, the mute jammer's now only doing a spherical area rather than a cylindrical one. So it cuts those corners off and stops them just going straight up and down the wall. And Uno taking full advantage of that to get a construction wall open. So that is going to limit the play. There we go, Sloth underneath. As I said, getting the kill onto Virtue. The protection, obviously a little bit better this time, just allowing him that. But also, he was down there for the longest time waiting last time. Whereas this time, I think the droning's been a little bit hotter for him and the information was there.
He also got out of there as well. That's the important part. He didn't stick around to allow G2 some revenge. The 7 seconds of trade returnal is gone. At this point, G2 are now playing with this little back foot. They have some intel, and Alamau has an idea, and that idea is I want to swing, and there's someone just behind the box of the jacuzzi. Are they holding on? Are they just with the angle? Are they expecting this to come through? Alamau, what do you know? Well, you know that, and you're able to get away from the grenade that was otherwise being prepared for that Maestro cam on the corner. No instant response there. Gorgona could not get that catch.
He does get picked up from the finger boost, though. That is going to get him back on his feet. So Alamau's work not wasted. It leaves Gorgona low health, but he might have hoped for a little bit more. If he had a bit of luck, he could well have found his man there. 5 versus 4 still as the push continues, albeit a little bit stalled out from Heroic here. Back on the drones late in the round, 2-minute mark, and they are still trying to find who is where. Citizen is still inside a CCTV, but Grizzly able to find a nice kill there. Alamau nearly finds himself a freebie as one just strolls across the window. Prano taking damage. It's all coming down to this. Grizzly is down. It's effectively now a 1 versus 3, and this is not going to happen for Alamau, I don't think. He's on the pistol. He knows where they're coming from, but can do nothing about it. Final kill, and that's going to be 7-5 Heroic after what was a major scare from G2 for them.
I think there's a bit of relief in the Heroic camp for just being able to push that over the line. It was so much closer than I think it should have been, and fair enough, there might have been a couple of rounds in that